I'll get started in just a second. Okay, well, I will go ahead and get started. Hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Sarah's Science-Based Sustainability Secrets. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am an intern with CSU Extension this summer, and I am studying ecosystem science and sustainability. So a big passion of mine is sustainability and learning, so I'm happy to be doing this second episode with you all. CSU Extension is an outreach branch of Colorado State University. We have an office in almost every county in Colorado. Our job is to provide research-based information to the community. Content from this presentation is from CSU Extension fact sheets, and the sources will be cited in the comment below. Let's get started on discussing native plants. A Colorado native plant is defined as a plant existing in Colorado prior to European settlement. Native plant gardens offer many benefits, including creating wildlife habitats for a variety of birds, mammals, and insects. Today, as you can see, I am no longer in my backyard, and I'm at Carson Nature Center. So I will take you on a walk in a few minutes to show you the types of native plants that they have available here. So landscaping with native plants can improve biodiversity that otherwise would be lost. Native plants can also help to increase the amounts of pollinators in your garden, which is critical to ecosystems and human survival. Other benefits include less maintenance and water inputs. Native plant communities in Colorado vary due to differences in exposure, elevation, rainfall, soil, and temperature extremes. These plant communities make Colorado visually distinct from other parts of the country. So, native plants are an ideal landscape for sustainability and are naturally adapted to Colorado's climate, soils, and environmental conditions. By choosing native plants, native plant gardeners can work with the natural environment rather than trying to grow plants that are not suited to our local conditions and may prove difficult to work with. Native species require less external inputs, such as water and fertilizer, and are more resistant to pests and diseases when the planting site mimics the plant's natural habitat. Landscape water use accounts for about 55% of residential water used across the state of Colorado, which mostly is used on turf. Planting less thirsty natives has the potential to lessen the burden on our water systems. For example, in the heat of the summer, a Kentucky bluegrass lawn may require up to 2.5 inches of water per week, while a native plant garden may only need 0.25 inches of water per week. So first, we're going to walk over to the first plant that is native and absolutely beautiful. Let me get over there. So it is called, the grand reveal, Rocky Mountain Penstemon. So this is a gorgeous purple plant, and you can see its foliage, and it's one of the easiest to grow in Colorado. It's long-lived and fuss-free, and you want to plant it in a place with well-drained soil and exposure to full sun, like it is here. And it helps to attract a lot of bees and birds and other pollinators that you want in your garden. So we should next talk about the maintenance, soils, and watering of native plants. Colorado soil is fairly low in organic matter and high in pH, meaning that it is alkaline. Native plants usually can be successful in this unamended soils. This is because these plants do not require nutrient-rich, high organic content soil. Native plants do not need much maintenance, just the usual pruning of dead or diseased material and the cutting back of perennials in the spring. Plants will need to be watered for at least the first season, with the most critical time being the first 3 weeks after planting. Once they're established, water can be cut back gradually, depending on the native plant you are growing. After establishment, some natives can be taken off of irrigation completely. A native plant doesn't mean that the plant is drought tolerant, however. So you should also consider mulching your native plant garden to conserve soil moisture and to control weeds and to make it look aesthetically pleasing. And I will be talking about mulching in an upcoming episode. So there are 3 ways to establish native planting. 1 is to use nursery-grown transplants, 2 is to use direct seeding, and 3 is to use a combination of transplants and seeding. Successful establishment of native plants requires supplemental water for a few months to several years after planting, but this can gradually be reduced. So weed control also makes it easier for your native plants to be successful. Nursery-grown transplants are best planted in the spring or early fall, and seeds can be planted from early to late spring or preferably in late fall. And I will be discussing the resources for finding native plants in nurseries soon. So we should talk about turf grass versus low water gardening. Although grass lawns are popular, they generally use more water, fertilizer, and maintenance like mowing than a landscape of native plants. Lawns provide no habitat for pollinators and birds, but they are important for the recreational side of the outdoors, like sports, play areas for kids and dogs, and other activities. Native landscapes, on the other hand, add more interest and color, are less resource intensive, and provide habitat for pollinators. You can suit your landscape to look how you need it to, though, based on the activities taking place in your backyard. Soccer games and picnics are much more strongly suited for turf grass, but if there are areas in your yard that don't need turf grass necessarily, you can put some native plants in there. And I will link some resources to get you started on this. And next, I am going to walk us over to some showy milkweed. And I'm actually planting milkweed in my own yard because it attracts butterflies. And something about me is I really love butterflies, and it's a great way to bring a lot of pollinators and butterflies to your garden. Okay, so let's flip this around. So right here we have some milkweed, and this is a beautiful plant. It's just really great for pollinators. And you can see earlier I looked at it and there were a few honeybees flying around, which was pretty great. And let's flip this back around and I'll set the camera down again. And so now that I've shown you just 2 plants, I will be showing you more in a second, but we should talk about how you choose native plants. So when you choose native plants, you want to avoid planting invasive species. And you should read the labels on wildflower mixes to verify that they don't have any noxious weed species. So noxious weeds are a non-native plant that disrupt native vegetation because they have no natural controls and are able to adapt to varied climate conditions. The seeds can go into your forest lands by your feet, by dogs, by your car, and by wind. So these are not very great. Once they're there, they can take over meadows and ruin the habitat for native plants and animals. A comprehensive list will be linked below, and a link to these noxious weeds can also be found here. So this will definitely help you with identifying these weeds. So when you're choosing a species, you should choose based on the soil, light, and water conditions of the area you want to plant them in, and for the size, shape, texture, and color that you want. For a more natural, successful, and easily maintained landscape, you should group species together that grow naturally and have the same cultural requirements. This will improve your plant health overall and the appearance, and it will minimize the maintenance that you need to do in your garden. So, a few ground cover plants that do well in the front range, for example, are wine cups and spreading daisy. Some perennials include fringe sage, blue flax, and butterfly milkweed, which I talked a little bit about. And there are also all kinds of succulents, trees, and shrubs that you can plant in your backyard. And I will list resources in the comment box below on how to go about finding these plants. So a few large trees that are native to Colorado that are frequently used in the landscape include Colorado blue spruce, southwestern white pine, Douglas fir, narrowleaf cottonwood, and plains cottonwood. But you should be sure to learn the research site requirements for each tree. For example, cottonwoods may not be suitable in home landscapes. Blue spruce trees will sometimes grow too large for the space that they were provided. You should check with your local garden centers for a variety of these native trees that might be more suitable for your landscape. If you are looking to support pollinators, the New Mexico pivot is a small but nice tree that's native to Western North America, and this attracts pollinators and birds, which is great. The Colorado Plant Database provides research on the identification, the ecology, and the human connections for more than 1,000 Colorado native plants, as well as non-native invasive species. I will also share a link compiling all the places where you can buy these native plants. So this is a list of nurseries and seed companies that are currently known to sell Colorado native plants, and it was prepared by CSU Extension in Clear Creek County. So for more information, please contact your local CSU Extension office or the Colorado Native Plant Society. So while the field and scope of native plants is still growing, it's really important for us to have this conversation about sustainability and creating more sustainable landscapes. You should support your native wildlife, and you can conserve water by adding more natives to your yard. And landscape trends do change, so it's important for each of us to keep sharing information and benefits about native plants. So now that I have discussed the benefits of native plants a little bit, let me take you on a little walk around Carson Nature Center, and I will point out a few plants that I personally think would just look great in a garden. So let me flip the camera. So we'll start out here. This is a pashy plume. It definitely looks as soft as it does on camera. And right over here, we've got these are some tongue twisters, purple prairie clover and some prairie cone flower. And we've also got some yarrow right here. So now this garden's really big, so I'm going to walk to the other side of it to show you some prickly pear cactus. And I just posted a post in the Facebook page about the types of bees that are found on this type of flower, and it's a tongue twister too. It's called Lithurgosopsis, and these are a very interesting type of bee. There's only a few types of bees that can get into these plants because of the anthers that you'll see in a second, and I just walked by it and I know there are some bees crawling in and out of it, and you can see the pollen on their bellies. So we're almost there, and here we are. So you can see lots of bees buzzing around. You can see these little guys. Let's see if we can get one climbing into the flower. We've got one right there. You can see he just crawled in and out of the flower. And there's some more right there. And they're collecting some pollen on their bellies. So that's pretty interesting. So another plant we've got right here is a Colorado 4 o'clock, and the name kind of gives away what the flowers do. They close up around the afternoon, around 4 o'clock. We've got some chocolate flower that's a little past its bloom, but it does indeed smell like chocolate. I tested it out. We've got some bindweed and a variety of, we got more cactus over here. We really have like you can see, there's huge variety of plants you can put in your backyard. And we've got some more yarrow right there. There's a bunny back there if you can see him. And right here we have some mountain harebell and wild strawberry too. So I'll just keep walking you through the garden. A lot of these bloom beautifully. I'm just not at the right time for them all to be blooming. And perfect. So, and there's the Rocky Mountain Penstemon right over there. They've got a lot of it over there. Okay, so let's flip this around. So that's it for today, folks. If you join me next week, I will be talking about composting, which is really great for your garden. And if anyone has any questions, that's it for today. And if no one has any questions now, put them in the comments, and I am active on the Facebook and I will answer them. And check for the comment that I will be posting after this is uploaded, and you'll be able to see all the resources that I used. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Let's see, what time is it? Perfect, it's 12:15. This is great. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, lots of beautiful local wildflowers that we can put in our yards. Okay, so I'm going to finish the live, and if any questions come to mind, just don't forget to comment them and I will answer your questions. Thank you. Everyone have a great day and get outside to some beautiful nature. Goodbye, everyone.